Oh, right. Okay, so gonna grab the tail end of the rope.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Alonso. This is Joanna. Today, we're gonna be going over some basic highline rescue if you've only got 2 people. And by 2 people, I mean one of those people is injured out on the highline and there's 1 person left on the anchor to do all of the rescuing. Now, really quickly, I wanna note, this method will only work if the injured person out on the highline is conscious and able to do some of the work. We'll be doing future videos that will demonstrate how to rescue an unconscious highliner as well as someone who is potentially severely injured. So stay tuned for those. But for this one, we're gonna keep it simple. Our highliner is conscious and they're able to do at least something. Some common examples of when this method might be useful is if your highliner is a beginner and they just got really fatigued and can't climb their leash again. If they got some sort of arm injury and only have 1 arm available, this method is great as well. Now, the final note I want to make before we get started with this, I want to note that Joanna and I are not licensed rescuers. We are not licensed guides. We're just 2 people on the internet showing you how we think something should be done. So, as always, do your own research, take this video with a grain of salt, and with all that, let's get started. Okay, so before we go out and actually rescue somebody on a highline, let's talk about everything we're actually going to need in order to perform this rescue. So the first thing we're gonna want is some high efficiency pulleys. This is the Petzl JAG system. These are double pulleys with teeth on them for progress capturing ability. And these are really great for rescue. And for our rope, we just have some 5mm Dyneema. Now, I do wanna note, these are really pricey, but when you're literally putting someone's life on the line, this is a really good thing to invest in order to have in your rescue system. Another note I want to make, it's not realistic that every single highliner in the world is going to have a really expensive pulley system like this. So we will also be making more quote unquote realistic rescue videos that utilize only the items that a highliner is going to have on them, but those will be coming in the future. So don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss those. So another really crucial element to rescue is the Kootenai carriage. Now the Kootenai carriage is, I think, the most important part of any highline rescue because unlike a hangover, this thing can roll over twists and knots and ENOV splits and pretty much anything on the line without getting jammed. So if you're gonna own at least 1 piece of rescue equipment, it should definitely be the Kootenai carriage. And I'm also going to be posting links to all these items down in the bio, so go check that out to see where you can find these. And no, we're not affiliated with these companies and we're not making anything out of this. We just think these are the crucial elements. The next thing we want is some sort of static haul line to be able to haul our slackliner back to safety. Now, this doesn't have to be a completely separate rope. Heck, you could even use the tail of your already existing rig. However, rope is really nice because you can put this in a gree-gree to progress capture or even a micro traction, which is a lot more efficient if you have that. We're going to be using a gree-gree and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but static rope is what we're going to be using for this rescue, and it doesn't take too much to haul 1 extra rope out to your rig. So another piece of the puzzle is the gree-gree and the ascender. So what we're going to be using this for is we've gotten the Kootenai carriage out to our rescuee. They are off their weight now and onto the Kootenai carriage, and now the person at the anchor needs to haul the injured person back to the cliff edge. Now imagine if Joanna, someone tiny, was pulling someone big like me. Without any mechanical advantage or progress capture, that would be a really hard thing to do. So gree-grees are pretty common and ascenders are pretty common. So we're gonna be using a gree-gree to capture progress and the ascender to create a 3-to-1 on that rope. You could also do this if you're going to be using the tail of your webbing with a line grip and a moonter. And lastly, we want to give our Kootenai carriage the best chance it has to get to our injured highliner without anyone needing to go out and manually push it. Now, it is likely if we have a lot of twists in the line or if we have a lot of backup or some splits that the rescuer is going to have to roll out onto the line themselves in order to get that Kootenai advanced over some snags. However, putting a little bit of weight on it like a full water bottle will help it advance by itself and potentially get there without anyone else needing to get on the line and put themselves in danger as well. Now, I recommend a full water bottle for something like this for a couple of reasons. One, water is very heavy, and two, an injured highliner will greatly appreciate a little bit of water while they're doing their self-rescue and getting pulled back to the cliff. So full water bottle, just for weight, but you can use anything heavy. You can use extra metal, whatever you've got really, just add some weight to that Kootenai carriage. All right, so let's go over the actual rescue plan now and how this is gonna play out in real life. Our highliner, whatever the reason may be, they're fatigued, they hurt their hand, they hurt their foot, something is keeping them from being able to climb their leash again, and they just can't do it. More than likely, this is gonna be fatigue. A little less than likely, but very realistic, is gonna be an injured hand or arm. What we have now, we have one highliner dangling on their leash, needing to be rescued, and we've got another highliner just hanging out by the anchor. They were probably listening to music or watching their friend highline or shooting some video, whatever the case may be. You should always be around when there's only one other person highlining and be aware of what's happening to your friend on the highline. So injured highliner, alert highliner, rescue needs to begin now. So first things first, the highliner at the anchor is going to want to securely attach themselves and make sure that they don't put themselves at danger. It's very important not to panic in this case, because what can happen is you can put yourself in a situation where you then have two people that are injured, and then you're really, really screwed. So step one is to stay calm. Now that we're calm, we're gonna go to the anchor with our Kootenai carriage and all the material that we need for this rescue. And the first thing we wanna do is secure ourselves and the Kootenai carriage to the slack line. So we're gonna put the Kootenai carriage around the highline, making sure to get both the main and backup in this. Also, we wanna be very careful not to drop our Kootenai carriage here, because it's a heavy piece of metal that we have to finagle with and get on the line. One thing you can do is tie a short piece of rope to it and clip it off to something. In case you drop it, it's not gonna fall off the cliff and be gone forever, because as we said before, this is the most important piece of the entire puzzle. Now that we've got the Kootenai carriage around both the main line and the backup, the first thing we wanna do, we wanna install the haul line. You can see here that our Kootenai carriage has 3 holes. It's got one in the middle, which is the really big one, and it's got one on either end. So we're going to attach our haul line to the hole closest to the anchor so that when we're pulling the Kootenai carriage back, it doesn't twist in any weird way. Now that we've got the haul line attached to the hole closest to the anchor, the next step is going to be to attach the pulleys to the big hole in the middle. Little sidebar here, but when you've got your pulleys, you should have them set up in a way so that all you have to do is untie a knot like we have here, and they're ready to go. So we're going to untie our knot here, making sure not to drop these or get them tangled in any way, shape, or form. And then we're going to install them onto our line here. So you'll see here that this specific system has teeth on one side. So we want to make sure a couple things are done here. First of all, we want to make sure this is locked. Second of all, and this will be a little hard to see because the pulleys are already extended, but we want to make sure our pulleys are extended enough so that our injured highliner can actually clip themselves to the other end of the pulleys. You don't want to have them too short and them not be able to reach, because then you're in the same problem, and you're going to see why just now. Because the third step, these teeth that this jag has, you want to make sure that those teeth are locked by pushing the button here, or that you have some sort of progress capture, so that way when your injured highliner actually starts to pull themselves up onto the pulleys, their progress is captured and you actually have something that's working. Otherwise, you did this all for nothing. So those are the pulleys. And again, very, very, very important. And I want to just make sure that that is duly noted in this video. Lastly, we want to attach some sort of weight to the front hole here on the Kootenai. So This is just to help the kootenai slide along the line much easier so that nobody has to actually guide it out there. That's the entire kootenai setup. The next step is we want to lower this kootenai out to our injured highliner, and once it has reached their leash, they should be able to just grab the carabiner in Joanna's left hand, clip it to their belay loop, and then pull themselves up. And with really high efficiency pulleys, it doesn't take more than 2 fingers to be able to pull yourself up off the leash. And of course, you have to remember, if you are the injured highliner, it helps a lot to use your hips as well in this motion as you're pulling to get a little bit of weight off. And you really only need to get enough weight so that you're on the kootenai carriage and off the leash. This is the step where the kootenai might not make it all the way to the highliner. And if that happens, you as the rescuer have to be prepared to get out on that line and guide this kootenai by hand. Make sure, again, that you're in a good headspace, you're not panicking, you're not freaking out, because that's where mistakes are made and that's where you can have real disasters. So as always, double check your work and make sure that you're doing things carefully, because
slow and steady wins the race. I don't know, I don't think that
just make sure you're being careful and double checking all your work. You don't want to get yourself in a situation where 2 people are injured. And I know I've said that already, but I just really want to drill that point because that's very important. So at this point in the rescue, the highliner has their way onto the kootenai carriage and you are ready to haul them back in to the cliff edge. Now, if I was rescuing Joanna, I probably wouldn't use the gree and the second ascender. I could probably just hand over hand pull her so long as I'm passed into the cliff edge and safe. Now, if Joanna was rescuing me, she would probably use the gree and the ascender to get some 3-to-1 advantage. Once the injured highliner arrives at the cliff edge, you want to make sure you pass them into the cliff somehow before you get them off the kootenai and make sure that they're safe. Because the last thing you want is completing a rescue successfully only for the person to then fall off the cliff when you unclip them. You don't want that, so make sure you clip them in and that they're safe. So now let's actually demonstrate how this would look like, first in a practice scenario, and then we'll go out and do this in a real life scenario on a real life highline. So that being said, let's do it.
Yeah, you should tell people to practice this on like a park line before. So that way when shit hits the fan, then they know what to do. My hands! I'm hurt! Oh, we should demonstrate what happens if you didn't extend it.
Oh, you can still kind of reach it.
I can, but I can't clip it. That's the problem.
Joanna is injured on the line and we have successfully gotten the kootenai pulley down to her. Now, speaking of mistakes, this is what happens if you don't make the pulleys long enough. Joanna, go ahead, clip yourself into the pulleys.
I can't. My loop is all the way down here and I can't reach.
She can't pull the pulleys apart either because you did one thing right and you didn't forget to lock the pulleys up here. Now, let's go over what happens if you make the pulleys long enough but forget to lock the tooth. So we're gonna unlock the tooth here and we're gonna make them long enough because we did that part right. So now Joanna can clip herself, but let's see what happens when she pulls herself up. So she gets weight off the leash, but as soon as she comes back down, as soon as she lets go of the rope, she loses all progress and falls right back onto her leash again. So now let's go over the proper way and assume we did everything right and locked these teeth. Okay, so now I'm gonna go where I would be at the anchor with this thing, and Joanna's gonna demonstrate a rescue.
All right, I'm pulling up, and I can just pull with one hand if my other hand were injured.
Use your left hand.
My left hand, oh yeah, let's pretend it's my weaker arm. I would probably have to at least just wrap it around my hand once.
But perfect. Okay. Now all of Joanna's weight is on the kootenai and we can pull her into the rescue. And nope, back she goes. I'm bouncing. I did like a crazy trick and whipped.
Ooh. Dude, are you okay?
Dude, I think the leash wrapped my hand and my hand kind of hurts. I don't know. Yeah, I can't climb the leash.
Is your other hand okay?
Yeah, I can use my left hand, but I tied my leash really long. I don't think I can climb it one-handed. I might need some help.
Okay, I'm gonna get the kootenai and all this stuff. All right, so we got all this rescue stuff right here. So I'm gonna pass myself in because I'm gonna be working at the edge. Let's grab the kootenai, back it up to the anchor just in case I drop it. Okay, put this onto the line. And then thread this through the center, lock it, and then make sure the rope teeth are clamping onto the rope. Then I can undo this knot to extend it so it can reach my injured highliner. And then I'm just gonna toss this over everything. We're gonna add some weight to the kootenai as well. And I'll turn it right side up to go over this. Bottle on the side away from you so the rope can go through the hole that is closest to you. So I get my static rope, then just tie whatever figure 8. I'm just tying a figure 8 knot because I'm a climber and I don't know anything other than the figure 8. Oh wow, and I can barely tie figure 8. Okay. All right, okay. So now I can double check my work. I think everything's good. I have the kootenai on it. I have a water bottle for extra weight. I have pulleys with the clamp down onto the rope so that way it can capture his progress. Then I have my rope at the end closest to me so that way I can reel him back in. Now I can undo this carabiner and then just throw the kootenai out to Alonzo. And then just take this off completely so it doesn't get caught on anything. All right, and then we're good to go. Okay, so everything is in order. Easy peasy.
Okay, kootenai got to me.
All right.
All right. Okay, I'm clipped to the pulleys. I'm gonna see if I can pull myself up with just my left hand. I just started zooming. I was like, wait, I'm going. Nice. Okay. I think my weight's off my leash. I'm ready to come home.
Got a gree, and I'm gonna clip the rope in, and then just clip this either to this carabiner or to the backup line. I'll actually just do this carabiner because it's kind of out of the way. Okay, so I got my gree clipped, then I can put on the sender, clip a carabiner. I'm gonna grab this, place the rope through it, and then clip the tail in here to make my 3-to-1. All right,
bring me in.
All right, and then I gotta slide this sender out. Ooh. Helps to have long arms and not be 5'1".
Yeah, but see, you're so little, pulling in a big guy like me. I'm now close enough on the gree to the point where Joanna can't pull much more in because of the space on the ascender as well as the gap in the knot. Now, in order to help Joanna further here, even though I've only got one hand that's accessible, I can take this carabiner off this ascender here, keeping it on the rope so Joanna could still have her 3-to-1. And then I can clip this using my one hand directly to the kootenai. And now Joanna can continue her 3-to-1 pulling once this ascender is off, which Joanna might have to assist me with because I only got one hand. Okay, so that's as far as we can go. Now, we're close enough to the anchor here with my good hand. I can reach for my PAS. I can hand it to Joanna, who can help me clip it to something safe.
This master point.
And we're going to the master point here. Now, Joanna's still passed in. Now I'm passed in. Here, if we've got a good working ledge, we can get up above. And if we don't, we're gonna need some help here. So if one of our hands is bad, we can hook our arm around the line while Joanna helps me with my other hand here. And then I can put my feet on the wall or really get any leverage necessary that I need to get myself up onto this line and safely back on the anchor.
Yay.
Now, that's the hardest part, is getting off the line and onto the cliff, especially if the working area is off a sheer cliff like this. So go out, practice, make sure you have your systems dialed.
Let me push record so I can stop recording. Restart.